My name's Mohini Chandra, and this is my show Paradise Lost, which is at Mirror at Plymouth College of Art. So I've been working with an archaeology group called the Ships Project, in particular with their director Mallory House. She started talking about the way that there amazing kind of facts about Plymouth, the fact that there are over 600 wrecks in Plymouth Sound alone. And these wrecks go right back to sort of Roman times, but they also include the colonial period of the sort of British Empire that I'm interested in, because I've been working for many years in that kind of area out in the Pacific and in India, looking at the histories of my family migrations. And I suddenly became aware that we are just standing on, walking over and sailing over the most amazing archaeological site in Plymouth. There is so much more there. It is so rich, and it's a little bit untold. A lot of the stories are quite untold. I think the reason that I was so interested in ships in particular was, as I said, I've been looking at the histories of migration of my ancestors as indentured labourers from India. They were taken to work in the Pacific via the port of Kolkata in India. Other indentured labourers were taken to other parts of the world, Africa and the West Indies and so on. But my ancestors actually went to Fiji and to work in the sugar industry. So for many years my work has been based around this experience and the sense of loss of your homeland, the sense of dislocation in diaspora and migration. And through this history of shipping and travel, Plymouth has a very strong connection to those places. And I think we need to face history rather than shy away from it and all of its difficulties. And I think with this work, I want to bring in a human element to that question. And Moshumi's song, her lament, is really a gift to the people of Plymouth and to the UK, because it's trying to create a bridge. It's trying to create a space of understanding that as human beings, we all suffered in this relationship. And for me, it's quite political as well as cultural, in that I think that the seeds of what we call global capitalism now were perhaps a lot of the seeds were there being kind of fertilized and nurtured within this colonial relationship. And so now when we allow the sort of free movement of goods and money around the world, but we put up barriers and borders to migrants and people that we think are illegal, even though seeking asylum is not an illegal activity by any means. When we show a lack of compassion in the way we treat people because they are other in some way, then I think we probably need to be reminded of our common humanity. The health of yourself is dependent on the health of your neighbour. The health of your country is dependent on the health of the world in so many ways. Just to describe the exhibition, firstly, in the main room we have a film work, which is a 2-screen video work starring Mohini Chandra, who's a singer from Kolkata in India. We filmed Mohini singing in St Mary's Church in Totnes, and we filmed the sea above a slave ship that the Ships Project has been investigating, knowing that a ship was down there but not able to see it. And I kind of like the mystery of those two things. So Moshumi's lament is sung almost over this part of Plymouth Sound, over this patch of sea that holds a tragic kind of secret in a way. We installed a window of a ship called the Margaret, which sank off the coast of Cornwall. And I love this image because it was just the ultimate kind of sinking ship, this ship just slowly sinking at this very precarious angle into the sea. The presence of the ship as a very large object then makes its way into the space. There are documentary elements, where I am documenting artifacts, but as you say, I've taken them and put them in light boxes in a fairly dark room, so they seem to be kind of just floating there. And I wanted to sort of remove them from the archaeologist's cabinet or table and actually just give them a bit of space so we consider them really carefully. And so the objects that I've chosen are a jug that is completely crushed by the force of wrecking. there's also a figure, it's obviously from India, and it's a man holding a kind of heavy weight above his head. And I thought that was just very symbolic of this idea of labour and work and kind of the weight of that, the suffering of that. And that was off a wreck called the Medina that was sunk here in Plymouth. And the third image is of the slave manila, which is this bracelet type item which is used as a currency in the slave trade. So you would trade one or a number of these copper manillas for a life, for a slave's life. I hope that people take away that they've walked almost into the sea when they come into the space. There's the sound of the sea and there's the sound of Mohini's song in these drowning times. On one level, people might just get a feeling of overwhelming sadness. I think Mohini's song is quite potent. It refers to, obviously, the drownings of slaves and migrants and sailors and indentured labourers. It also refers to that sense of loss that I've experienced in my life. So when I first heard her song, I felt quite emotional.
আমি কার লাগি থাকি কার লাগি জাগি কার কথা ভাবি কার দয়া মাগিয়ে ডুবন্ত সময়ে সব হারানোর ভয়ে গভীর অপচয়ে ডুবন্ত সময়ে আমি কার লাগি থাকি কার লাগি জাগি কার কথা ভাবি কার দয়া মাগিয়ে ডুবন্ত সময়ে সব হারানোর ভয়ে গভীর অপচয়ে ডুবন্ত সময়ে কে যাসে কে যাস।
Ultimately, this work is about the believability of historical truth. This history has been told generally from one perspective, from the perspective of those who are powerful. And I'm trying, in my way, to introduce some different perspectives on history. Not to dismiss what we thought was true before, but just to say it's probably a bit more complex than we thought it was. And let's hear some different voices talking about those histories. I'm asking you to imagine the richness of our society with a level of cultural interaction like that, so there's bringing a layer of something from India, from Kolkata, which is where my ancestors were exported from one part of the world to the other, bringing that over to the UK and sort of bringing that into this very, I suppose it's a very English kind of space in a way. I really like that, inserting something unexpected into a space and saying, well, should this be unexpected or should we just accept this rich kind of diversity in our culture? And, obviously I hope it's the latter in some ways.